Column charts are one of the most common and powerful tools for visualizing data in Excel. They help us quickly compare values across different categories and make patterns in the data much easier to understand at a glance. Hello and welcome to Ben Academy. In this video, we will learn how to create a column chart in Excel step by step, starting from selecting the correct data and inserting the chart, and then customizing it to make it clear and professional. By the end of this tutorial, you will know how to use column charts effectively to present and analyze your data. Let's get started. I will show you how to use column chart. This is the data I want to draw a column chart for them. Let me first draw a column chart for the first series, that is test number 1. For doing it, it's better to write labels before drawing the column chart next to the values, and you can specify a name for the series. As you can see here, it's much easier and it's much preferred to do this before drawing the column chart. By selecting the label column and also the values and going to Insert tab, you can find the chart area, and the icon of column chart is like this. By clicking on it, window is going to be open for you, and you can select different types of column charts, 2D or 3D, vertical or horizontal. That horizontal cases are named as bar, and it's exactly similar to the columns, but in a horizontal orientation. I have only one series, so let me first use the first items here. There's no difference between the first 4 items here. I'm showing you. I prefer to use the 3D clustered column, as you can see here. By clicking on this icon, you can see that the chart is automatically drawn for you. A title is available here that is actually the title of your data, and the labels are automatically added for every column. If you want to add another series, you can go to the menu by right-clicking on in the middle of the chart on the plot area and selecting the select data and select add. You can specify the series name and you can select it on your worksheet and select series data like this by removing this and selecting these values. By pressing OK, you can see that the series 2 is added to your chart. But instead of doing this and going to select data, you could use a simpler method to add it. Let's undo it. By clicking on chart, you can see that the area that is used for drawing the chart is shown with these colors. If you go to the corner of the data here and dragging it to the right, you can see that the second series is selected automatically and everything is done without going to the menu and selecting data on worksheet. Now we have 2 series of data. There are other ways to show the data. If you go to change chart type, you can change the chart type. As you can see here, different types are available here. Another type, as you can see here, is a stacked column. If you select it, you can see that the values are stacked on top of each other, and if the summation of 2 series is important for you, you can use stacked column like this. The other option is 100% stacked column. It's similar to the stacked column, but in terms of percentages, and you can see that all bars, all columns are similar from 0 to 100%, and you can see the significance and importance of each series on each column. You can do it with 3D items like this, with 3D stack column and 3D 100% stack column. Another case here is 3D column, and you can see that data is shown in front of each other. Instead of showing them side by side, they are in a queue and they are showing like this in front and backward. The other options you can see here is another representation of data. You can see that the position of X and Y is changed. I'll show you how to do this and what's the meaning of switching X and Y. If you go to select data, if you switch row and column, you can see that the diagram will be converted to the same way I showed you. And in this way, there are 2 categories, and every item has 12 categories. So we have 12 different series, as you can see here. But in this specific example, it doesn't work, and I prefer to show data as I showed in the beginning. So let's change it to 3D side-by-side clustered columns like this. It's the simplest way that Excel can draw a column chart for you, but you can make it more professional. Personally, I prefer to make the titles straight exactly on the bottom of the columns. So for doing this, by clicking on the labels and right-click and format access, a menu will be open for you. If you go to the size and properties, you can find something that can be used for this purpose. If you choose text direction, you can find that it can be rotated with 90-degree or 270-degree. It's up to you, and you can also use like this, but it's not preferred in many cases. I prefer to use one of these two items, 90 or 270 degrees. Color of the text by default are gray. You can also change the color. I prefer to use black to be visible in a better way, and I prefer to use Times New Roman as font. You can make it bigger or smaller if you want, and you can also change the colors of the columns, or you can increase the width of the columns. I prefer to have a thicker or wider columns. So let me do it by clicking on the column. If you go to series option, you can find something like this. If you adjust the gap width and decrease the gap width, you can see that actually the gap will be added to the width of the columns, and columns will be wider. In this way, you can have a wider column like this. I think it's enough. You can change the shape of column. You can use full pyramid like this, or partial pyramid, or cylinders, or full cones, or partial cones. I prefer to use the box or cylinder in some cases. Let's do it with cylinder. I can also change the other type with cylinder like this. Okay, let me add legend to the chart by clicking on the plus icon here and going to legend. You can add legend, and you can replace it to be top of the chart or left, bottom, or anywhere. I prefer to place it on top of the chart like this. You can edit the vertical axis like this by clicking on it. The format axis will be related to the vertical axis here. I prefer to make the major units a bigger value. 10 is low, and the numbers are very close to each other. If you enter 25, you can see that it's much easier to be visible, and it's better. About the minor units, it's not necessary to change it because I haven't shown grid lines for minor units. If you wanted to add it, you can adjust it and set it as you want. If your numbers are not integer, you can add some decimals if you want. For example, if you want, you can add decimal places, 2 or 1 or anything. But for this case, it's not necessary to do this. I will remove it. You can change the location of labels. It's now here by default next to axis. If you change it to high, you can see that it's moved to the right side, or low, it's again the same place, and none. If you don't want to show the values on vertical axis, you can remove it. I prefer to have the vertical axis, but I think it's better to add labels for the columns too, because it's not easily readable that how many is the value of this column, for example. So it's better to add labels by clicking on the columns and right click. If you click on add data label, you can see that the labels are added automatically. But it should be edited because too many decimals are written here, and the orientation is not also good. If you click on the labels, you can adjust it. For example, if you want to orient it and make it vertical, you can rotate it with 90-degree or 270-degree. And you can also reduce the decimals by going to label options and selecting the number. Instead of general, you should select number here. And by default, it's 2 decimals. You can also remove it to 1 to make it less crowded. You can also add labels for series 2. Similarly, add data label. By clicking on the labels and going to orientation, you can make it rotated like this and reduce the decimals with choosing number and writing 1 for decimals. And if the location of labels are not good, you can also change it. You can manually move them if only 1 or 2 items are not placed good. For example, this one, it seems to be placed close to the column. Pay attention that in some printed versions, maybe it's difficult to distinguish the colors. So it's better to, instead of color, use patterns. For doing this, if you click on the columns and going to fill and color, if you click on fill, there are some options to make it different. Now it's a solid fill actually. And if you select a gradient, you can see different types of gradients with different colors, or you can add a texture or a picture, or you can add a pattern. Select, for example, this pattern that is right downward diagonals. The patterns can also be a bit lighter, in my opinion. You can also change the series to another pattern. You can use, for example, these dots and add a solid line around it. You can change its color or you can keep it as blue. I prefer to change it as red, and the color of the dots also be red. Another modification that I suggest to do is that make it in a way to hold the values and diagrams be placed inside the plot area. Now you can see that some labels are outside the plot area, so it's better to change the values of vertical axis, for example, to 125. In this way, you can see that all the values are placed inside the plot area. I prefer to add a color to plot area, a solid color, but a very, very light color like this, and also a border around it, but again a border with a smooth color. We can also remove the line around the shape of chart by clicking on the chart area and selecting to no line. You can see that there is no line here. You can also remove the white color around the chart like this, or make it solid, or make it no color like this, but I prefer to keep white color around the chart. We can also add some borders, some glows and shadows for the labels, but personally I prefer to keep it as simple as you can see. Thanks for watching this video. I hope this tutorial was useful for you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any question, you can write your questions as comment below this video. See you.